Okay, in today's video, we are going to talk about one of those things that is important to talk about, but we don't really like to think about, and that is motorcycle accidents and all the details you should know to prevent them and how to handle it if it happens to you. So today's video is going to be filled with some facts, some stats, and of course, some just plain old opinions. These are my personal opinions. You may believe differently. If you think I'm wrong or think differently in one, let me know down in the comments below. I'll be sure to read through them. Today's video is indeed sponsored by my friends at Law Tigers. The opinions don't necessarily directly reflect what they think. These are my opinions, but they are sponsoring this video. They have watched over me on the road for many years, and I've been glad I've had them more than once. Having been in a serious motorcycle accident myself and riding hundreds of thousands of miles, I feel like I'm in a pretty good position to talk about this stuff. A lot of it was just Google searches, things I looked up on the internet and found the numbers and information. And some of the things I found even surprised me. The first thing you should know is motorcyclists are 26 times more likely to die in the event of an accident than somebody in a car. That is quite a big difference, and it really makes riding motorcycles, I hate to say it, but a little dangerous. But I think understanding how dangerous it is creates a respect and alertness which will help you avoid accidents in the future and hopefully avoid being a part of those statistics. Here's another fun one for you. 22% of all fatal motorcycle accidents involve intoxication, primarily alcohol. 75% of all motorcycle accidents involve a second or third car. So that means only 25% of the accidents are happening because of our own riding ability, machinery, or road conditions. And an absolute minute percent is because of equipment failure, your motorcycle not performing properly. Motorcycles themselves, operational, are pretty safe. Now, there are some caveats or some exceptions to that, or like gray areas, if you will, like let's say the death wobble. We've all heard about the death wobble in a corner, and that death wobble could land you in a ditch and in an accident. Now, is that a skill or is that a malfunction of equipment? It's debatable. One could say with enough experience, even if you do get the death wobble, you've got a high probability of being able to ride it out. But yet another would say, if you upgraded, let's say your suspension. I like to run Legend suspension. It performs very well for me, not only for comfort, but also for stability, stopping that death wobble and having your motorcycle properly tuned so it sets correctly in the corners, stops the death wobble altogether, and then you don't need the experience to get out. So is it equipment? Is it experience? I'll leave that decision up to you. The aged question, do loud pipes save lives? Some will tell you yes, while others will tell you undoubtedly no. The truth is, it's debatable. You know, there's evidence to show that they do, and there's evidence to show that it doesn't. I will tell you this, sport bikes, crotch rockets, race bikes, these types of bikes are 4 times more likely to end up in a motorcycle accident than a V-twin cruiser. Statistically, the V-twin cruisers also have louder exhaust. So that leads you to say that there is definitely a potential of your loud pipes actually saving your life, especially with that high death rate that comes in motorcycle accidents. And of course, I know you're gonna say, yes, but sport bikes are going faster and riding different, and that's what causes the accidents more with them. And actually, the average speed of a motorcycle accident is 29.8 miles an hour. So I don't know that the speed is as big of a factor, certainly a factor, but maybe not as big of a factor as some people like to think. In fact, in my personal experience, I've had more close calls from people going too slow on the interstate and creating too much space in group riding than I have in speed. You know, when you're impeding traffic and you're slowing down and people have to slam on their brakes behind you, that creates a bottleneck effect. Eventually, that can lead to an accident. Also, too much gapping when you're doing group rides or riding together allows cars to get in between. Now you're doing that dance around cars and cars dancing in between you. Also creates more of an opportunity for accidents. Sometimes when you think you're being safer, in my personal opinion, it may actually be contributing to the problem. The number one spot to get in that accident is going to be at an intersection. That's right, intersections are the most dangerous place for you as a motorcyclist. They just don't see you when they're looking left and right before crossing that street. That means you're going straight, and at an intersection, a car is making that left turn. That is the number one spot you're gonna find yourself in danger. But it's also the left lane changes, going down the interstate and that car changing into the left lane and not seeing you there. That is also one of the highest potential places for your accident. Being seen is flat out important. I do a lot of LEDs on my bikes. I don't like so much that, it looks like a spaceship going to outer space. I like it to be classy, but yet productive. I choose to go with Zero 3D. They've done the entire back end of my Road Glide. I am going to their headlight in my Indian Challenger. Ashley uses them for her saddlebag lights. We just think they look good, but they also add that extra pop to hope that that driver in that cage will see you and hopefully help you avoid that accident. Surprisingly, the statistics are fairly low at accidents coming from behind you. I have had several close calls of cars and even motorcycles hitting me from behind. So I have a hard time swallowing that statistic, but statistically it's a very small percent of motorcycle accidents that happen from behind. So now that you know some statistics and where the most dangerous places are on your motorcycle, let's talk about what you can do to protect yourself. The obvious first answer is good gear. A full-faced helmet, jacket, gloves. These are all pretty simple motorcycle attire that, everybody should wear, but I'm guilty. I don't do the gloves very often. Sometimes I do the jacket, sometimes I don't. But I always wear a helmet because a very high percentage of deaths could have been avoided if they just would have been wearing a helmet. Think about it. Less than 30 miles an hour is the average accident and people are dying. It's because they're hitting their head on the concrete. Your head's like a watermelon, man. You hit a curb, you hit the concrete, it could be the end of the game for you. So please, at least wear a helmet. I think that's the number one most important. The other ones, gloves, jackets, probably aren't gonna save your life. They're just gonna save you some pain. Probably every bit as important as the right gear is the knowledge. Most motorcycle accidents happen with riders who do not even have their motorcycle endorsement or are self-taught, meaning they've never gone through a motorcycle safety class. And I was guilty of that myself. I rode for nearly 10 years before I went through the course, and when I went through that course, I learned a lot of things that I never knew or learned just practicing on the streets. So I personally 100% recommend everybody take a motorcycle safety class. I definitely think it will change your odds. It will make you and your loved ones much less likely to have to go through this situation. Insurance, this is another big one, and I wish I had known about it sooner. It's underinsured motorists. This is an insurance you can carry on your motorcycle that will help you should the car that hits you be underinsured. It's crazy. I learned the hard way. In my accident, I had a lady come head on, cross over the double yellow into oncoming traffic and hit me. And guess what? When it came time to pay the hospital bills, it all fell on me. She was underinsured. I had $200 and some thousand in medical bills, and she had $20,000 or $30,000 of insurance. That 150 plus gap, well, that fell on my shoulders. Luckily, I was represented by Law Tigers, and they were able to get me out of it without a bunch of debt. And I wouldn't be doing all of you a service if I didn't tell you, get underinsured motorist on yourself should somebody else hit you and be underinsured. And that brings me to a good point. Just because somebody hits you doesn't mean that they are going to have to cover you or even will be found liable in the case of your accident. That's a scary thought in itself as well. So much depends on the way that all this is documented and all this is handled. So it's important you're educated and you have the knowledge to protect yourself should you find yourself in that situation. Because the worst thing in the world is for it to be somebody else's fault, and now you're disputing that and you don't have the evidence you need for the blame to be accurately placed upon who caused it. So should you find yourself in an accident, here's my recommendations. Number one, make sure and secure the people and the scene. Make sure everybody's secure and everybody's okay, and block people from coming in and interfering with the scene. That scene's gonna be important for you when it comes time to get compensated for these bills you're about to face. Understanding the importance of a motorcycle investigation is crucial for you long term here. You want to understand how important that is and how it can affect you. Obtain your information. Get the other driver's insurance, license, IDs, also any information you can get from any witnesses. Do not discuss the accident with anybody other than the police officer who is taking the statement. You can talk to people and get their input, but do not go back and forth and say anything that you might regret saying later. Documenting, taking photos or videos of the accident, the scene, what's happening, also could be something to really help you in the future. It eliminates the question and the doubt. And then notify your insurance company. Tell them what happened. Do that right away. Don't hesitate. You want to get that in right away because it doesn't look good if you didn't call your insurance on an accident. And after all that's done and prepared, that's when you call your motorcycle attorney. Call my friends at the Law Tigers. They will take it from there. You have given them the ammunition they need to represent you properly, and you've taken the course. Listen, they have an app out called the Law Tigers app. It looks like this. They have an app out called the Law Tigers app, and it will really help you educate yourself and be prepared should you find yourself in this horrific situation. Why do I choose Law Tigers? I'll give you my top reasons. One, they're always involved in the motorcycle community. I don't care what rally, where you're at, they're always out there representing, giving out free information and all kinds of stuff. You can get it, if you don't download their app, you can go to their website and get a lot of the same information, and they're always supporting the motorcycle community. Their primary focus is motorcycle accidents. So they're versed, they're experienced, and they're ready for that scenario. Their focus is helping family members get their loved ones the compensation they need and deserve when someone does something like this to you, man. Sometimes it's just not your fault. Me, it wasn't my fault. I was doing the speed limit. I was in my lane. I was doing absolutely nothing wrong. And another lady not paying attention took so much from me. I limp to this day because of that accident. So you want a firm behind you who understands the long-term effects you're gonna have and tries to help you out with it. They have over 30 years experience helping fellow riders who end up in this horrible situation. It's in their blood. They're riders themselves, and they'll stand up for you. They're one of my major sponsors. They've been with me for a long time, and I'm very thankful to ride along with Law Tigers. There you have it. That is my best advice for all you motorcyclists out there, or even people thinking about getting into motorcycling. Again, this is something we don't like to talk about, but I think it's important. And so this is my PSA video for the holiday seasons. A lot of people love you. A lot of people want to see you out there, and make sure you're there and safe for them. And should something happen to you, make sure that you are protecting yourself the best you can. Protection is more than just a helmet. It's also a mindset. Y'all stay there, stay scanning, stay focused, stay aware when you're on those two wheels, and hopefully you will be able to enjoy many more miles and years riding and never have to worry about being in an accident. All right, y'all, until the next video, I'm Adam Sandoval. Thanks for sitting down and talking about something I'm fairly passionate about. Like I said, after being in it and having it happen to me, I understand how important it is to be prepared in advance. And I'm happy to share it with y'all. I hope y'all took at least one nugget of information away from this, and maybe it helps you down the road. Until the next video, remember y'all, just because it's dangerous don't mean you can't do it. Everything in life will kill you. Just choose wisely.